So yeah, okay. So now you've come to the end of yourself and you're searching and you're trying to figure out, who God is and all sorts.
Yeah.
So then what led you to Christ? How did you
Okay, this is how God did it, because God is so patient, as Second Peter 3 says, God is not slow in keeping his promises, but is patient that none shall perish, but all shall come to repentance. So he's patient with each and every one of us because he doesn't want any of us to perish. And his mercy triumphs over judgment, and he'll keep pursuing us even to the last moment. And sometimes we feel like God is far away, but he's not the one that moved. It's us that moved. I was the one who moved, right? And so he allowed all of these series of events to occur in my life to bring me to the end of myself. But before I even go into that part, I also had a few spiritual encounters, which also opened my eyes more to the spiritual world, right? So I came to Christ in 2023, but the year before, in 2022, I was working in a betting shop, right? And though I didn't really know God, like that, I didn't have a relationship with him, I felt like he was speaking to me and he was giving me signs to leave that workplace. But I wasn't fully convinced. Or not even just I wasn't fully convinced. It did get to the point where I was convinced that this is God telling me to leave, but there was also fear, like, okay, what am I gonna do if I leave? So I was working in a betting shop, and I'd been in this shop now for about this would be my I was in my third year, you can say, in this shop. And I never planned on staying there for too long. Again, the way I saw work was just it's just to sustain me whilst I was still pursuing football, with my hopes of still making it professionally in football. But at least I can have that work, to get a car and to do things, maybe take women out and do things with women and stuff like that. But
sorry, this
I
time what team were you playing for? What football team were you playing for?
this I jumped. I was at a team like literally every single season, every year, sort of thing. So but this particular year, what team was I at? I can't remember. I can't
Oh,
remember.
that's fine. That's fine.
I jumped back and forth from like step six, with teams like Homestill, Forest Hill at the time, um, Meridian, and to a bit lower as well, to like teams like Halls or Housestead, So I was back and forth with those sort of teams. So I was at that kind of level. They also had trials with like step four teams at the time, like Sittingbourne, and I also had trials with like Maidstone, by the under 23s. Maidstone were a conference team, but the trials for their under 23s. So I was kind of like in and about those sort of things. But yeah, at this particular time now, so yeah, I'm working. And the first thing that happened early in the year is a customer died in the shop, right? And it was crazy because I was supposed to be on shift that day, right? My shift was supposed to start at 7 p.m. The customer died when, in the afternoon around like 2 p.m. or so. But the ambulance and the police were in the shop for quite a while, trying to obviously revive the customer to ensure that, he's fully gone. By the time I arrived to begin, so I was called in to come in to do my shift. I was supposed to be by myself also. But then I arrived and I saw literally the police cars outside the shop. And as soon as I was coming in, I saw the body bag leaving, and they put, the person in the ambulance. Again, so I think that got me thinking about death too, as well, a lot. Right. That evening, obviously, because the shop was shut for most of that time. Weirdly enough, they didn't actually shut the store that day. They still wanted to keep it open. So they brought me in to keep it open for the rest of the evening. So because it was shut for a long time, and I think people would have had an idea what's going on, they there were not really many customers, and they didn't want me to be alone as well in the shop for that period of time because my shift would have been like 3 hours, 7 till 10. And then so they sent someone to cover me. And the person that or not cover me, but to stay with me, the person that came to stay with me happened to be someone I actually knew already on social media on Snapchat, but we never actually met in person. Right. So that was our first time meeting in person. And this person is also will be significant to part of my journey as well because yeah, so then him and I were talking and whatnot, but there was like a eerie sort of atmosphere, I could just feel death, what I'm saying? That's on my mind, that's what I'm thinking and stuff like that. So it's strange. So that was the first sign for me. Then the second sign, I can't remember the time frame now. I know it was all months apart, but I can't remember if it was like 2 months between each one or a month between one. I can't remember the chronology, but I know that's the first thing that happened. The second thing that happened in my workplace was then we got robbed, right? Again, I was on shift this day, right? And I was doing it was a Sunday. I was doing the shift by myself because I would usually do on a Sunday, but they'll send someone in to cover my break. They take my place whilst I go and have my break away. Again, the person they sent happened to be someone I knew from before, from uni, even though I didn't go to university, but my friends went to university and I met this person through one of my friends in university. And so I eventually went for my break. This person covered me. By the time I returned, I see police in the shop, and then I hear that there was a robbery and she was held at gunpoint. At least she suspects because the person had something in a black bag pointing at her. We don't know for sure if it was a gun, but it had the shape of one and it looked like one or whatnot, you know. And then they took what was left in our cash register or whatever, but it wasn't even much anyway. Apparently, it was someone who was in prison who was released, so it was known to the police and maybe wanted to go back into prison because they didn't see themselves, surviving in the real world again, you know. So for me, it was like again, like, whoa, what's going on here? Again,
Mm,
I'm on shift when this happens. So now these two events are things I've heard of happening in these environments in betting shops, but I've never witnessed before. You know what I'm saying, right? So for me to now witness these things, well, I didn't quite witness it because I wasn't in the shop when these things happened. So I just felt like, is God telling me to leave? Like on top of the fact I already wanted to leave. I didn't see myself staying there long term anyway. But it's like God is saying, go now, go. But I'm still like, I'm not too sure. If I leave this job, I don't have anywhere else to go. I don't know where I'm gonna go, stuff like that. But around the same time, I think I was seeking because there were other betting shops which I knew about and I heard they paid more because I liked the betting shop environment because it was very relaxed, it was laid back. I felt like I could do whatever I wanted, especially this particular shop I was in. My manager was so chilled and laid back, kind of like let anything go in a sense. As long as I did my job, I can do whatever too. So I didn't take the job seriously. So I wanted that same sort of environment. So if I was to even leave that particular company, I'll still go to another betting shop, right? But I didn't leave straight just yet because I think I discovered the pay difference isn't even that much anyway. So I thought I'd just stay in this one, even though I've witnessed these two signs. Then the third sign I witnessed again, probably a month or so after this last one, was that a customer, got angry and smashed one of our machines. Again, this is something I've heard of, but I've never really seen or witnessed, right? And this time again, I'm on shift, and this time I do see it with my own eyes. The guy was playing a game, he got angry, he just picked up the chair and tried and smashed the machine. So I'm just thinking, whoa, okay, God, this is three strikes, I'm out, I should leave. But at the same time, it's like, but I don't know, what am I gonna do? Where am I gonna go? I'm not too sure. So I think God knew that I wasn't going to go on my own. So he had to find a way to kind of like force me out by using something I was going to do. So I ended up messing up. So I was now supposed to be on shift this evening, start at 7 p.m. Because I started in the evening, I had most of the day to do whatever. So I had a female friend who was working in central London in a bar, like in a brunch sort of, cafe restaurant thing. So she wasn't working that day, so she invited me. So I went with her. I didn't plan on doing much, or if I was going to drink, I wasn't going to drink too much because I was driving, right? But then because she works there, she got free drinks and she kept on like, kind of like because they knew I was with her, they kept on giving me drinks and I was drinking and drinking and drinking. But I thought, okay, I'll be fine. I'll sober up by the time I get to work. So I got the train back to close to where I parked my car because I didn't drive to central London. So I got the train back to where I parked my car and then drove from there to work. But whilst I was on the train, I was sleeping because I was knocked out, and everything. And then yeah. But by the time I got to my car, I was able to still drive to work somehow, by the grace of God, fine and everything. But as soon as I got into work, the person who I was changing shifts with left. So for the first few minutes or so, I was awake, but I was tired. So there were still some customers there. I attended to them. But as soon as I saw the shop was empty, I just put my head down to rest for a little bit, to close my eyes for a little bit. Um, but the thing is, I ended up sleeping for quite a while. But in our shop, we have this sensor which, we have to be in front of. Um, but we have a 15-minute grace period before it like, sends an alarm to security and security radio it. The reason why that sensor was put there in the first place, I heard, is because there was a colleague a member of staff who ended up dying as a result, because I think they went to the toilet or something, they collapsed. And no one was able to attend to them because no one knew where they were or anything like that. And to prevent such things from happening again, so they put that sensor. So the colleagues must always be in front of that sensor, and you only have a 15-minute grace period, maybe to go to the toilet or whatever. So if such a situation happens again, someone can go to their aid and help them. So now, after all of a sudden, so some time has passed. Had no knowledge of how much time had passed, and I just heard banging. I thought it was a dream initially, but this banging was so persistent and it continued that I just opened my eyes. I looked up and I saw on the other side of the the counter there was a paramedic there. She was asking, "Am I okay? Is everything good? Are you right?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good." And she was like, "Oh, I was sent here," and then I was like, "No, I'm good. I'm good. There's nothing wrong." And then she was a bit frustrated because she felt like she wasted her time. And then she
Mm,
left. And then not long after, the security radioed in and explained to me what happened. That I was down for some time. He tried to, speak to me through the radio. I was unresponsive, so he called the ambulance and whatnot. And he said he'll tell my manager. I was like, fine, cool, that's cool. So I knew my manager's gonna find out at this point. I didn't want to be the one to tell him, so I just thought, okay, I'll just wait till when he tells my manager. So my manager didn't actually have any knowledge of this until like a day or two later. And then as soon as he found out, he told me, hey, we're gonna have to have a meeting about this, because obviously what I did, I put the company at risk of losing their license and stuff like that. And so I'll most likely get a disciplinary and get sacked. But he advised me, you resign first, so at least it doesn't go against your record. So that's what I did. So that's how I left that company. So I think that's how God, got me out of there because he didn't want me there. But again, I was now thinking, okay, fine, at least I'm out now. Finally, God got what he wanted because he clearly didn't want me there. But at the same time, I was like, okay, but what am I going to do now? I have no job. I need to make money. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't know where else to go. But it's like, interestingly, I got a phone call from the company I'd inquired from a while ago. They're like, oh, are you still looking for a job? We now have a vacancy for you. Literally within a week or so after leaving this previous job. And I took it instantly because I felt, okay, I have to, you know. So let's say I left that first job in beginning of June. Interestingly, around this time, 3 years ago, I got the second job by the end of June. I'd done my interview and whatnot. But interestingly, though it was a betting company, this job were a lot more strict than the other one. So the first one was a lot more lenient and laid back. The second one was a lot more strict. So now I'm seeing both sides again, like discipline and say flexibility and whatnot. So I think God was trying to discipline me in a way as well, because I was too laid back, too relaxed, too flexible, whatnot. So now I was also starting to learn a bit of discipline, but I didn't like it initially anyway. Eventually, I got used to it because I was falling asleep on shift to begin with. But yeah, I eventually got used to it, but I didn't plan on staying in that job long. So I ended up planning on leaving 6 months later. But even before I joined this job, whilst I was doing the other one, I had encounters with demons, which is my first spiritual encounter also. So I had a friend who had, who, struggled with homosexuality and stuff like that. And I didn't know initially when we first met, we met through social media. I thought, he was just like me, like a guy who liked girls and whatnot. But yeah, so a year later we found out he was, he likes guys and stuff. But how that led to it is that he had an incident with his brother, and he believed it was that incident that caused him to now start having like seizures and fits because beforehand we never noticed anything like that. And he'll also go mute sometimes. Like this guy communicates just like us, right? But then there were times where he's trying to speak, like he's genuinely trying to speak, but words aren't coming out. So for me and for us, we're like, huh? Is he faking it? He must be faking it because we know this guy talks. Like, what's going on? But I think I quickly discovered, like, no, he's not actually faking it. He's genuinely trying to talk, but he can't. And then, but then there'll be times where we, we're away from him, but we'll meet him up again, and he's fine. And he'll tell us, oh, he went to church, they prayed for him, they cast out demons, and he's fine again. So I'm thinking, huh? Strange. maybe this stuff is real. I've read it in the Bible, but I never thought, this stuff happens today. I thought yeah, it's just for maybe in Jesus' time, maybe whatever, but I didn't really think it happened. And I've never seen it in church before. I've been to many different churches seeking truth, but didn't really hear this or see this or anything like that. Um, so then there was one day where I was actually we stayed over at his house. All our other friends left because we had a sleepover. So I was the last one. Then I was getting ready to go straight to work from his house. But then I went downstairs and I saw him having a fit on the floor, right? So the only thing I knew to do was to put a pillow under his head so he doesn't bang his head and hurt himself or whatever. And then I left him there. I think he said that someone was coming to get him or something. Well, no, I think he eventually was fine. And then someone came to get him and then I left. So at least I knew he was in good hands or something like that. I can't remember the full details, but I know I forgot my jacket in his house. So I went to work in a different shop. But because I knew someone was going to come and stay with me for the evening shift, I was going to use that opportunity to leave work to go get my jacket and then go back home. And the person that came to cover me happened to be the same friend that covered me when a customer died, you
Wow.
know. So he was also a nominal Christian, just like I was. He was sleeping around with women and stuff like that. We went to church together, weirdly enough, but we knew what we were doing, and we were actually supposed to go to a party that evening. Obviously, we knew what we were going to do in that party. But then when I went to collect my jacket from this other friend, he was telling me how he went to church. So in that time gap when I was at work, he went to church. People prayed for him, casted out demons. He was fine again. He told me about his deliverance. And again, it's like, this is crazy. I literally said to him, I need to come to church because I need to experience this as well, right? But he didn't. Yeah, so I did later on go to his church, but again, I didn't really experience much. But this particular day, I told him, okay, come with me to. No, he said he's free, he's not busy. He'll come with me to my workplace. I was like, yeah, come and tell the story to my other friend, like share your testimony, sort of thing. Because at this point now, I'm even convicted not to go to that party anymore because I know what I'm going to do there. So eventually, go to the workplace. He meets the other friend for the first time. Though they've spoken on the phone before, but they meet each other in person for the first time. So they were just catching up, small talk. Then, long story short, eventually, this friend now that had a deliverance. Now he said he wasn't initially going to share the testimony because he didn't want to tell everyone, but eventually he now started talking about it. And then all of a sudden, he's now saying to this other guy, "I see a demon on your shoulder," and he just starts casting demons out. He said, "Come out of him, come out of him." You know what I'm saying? And then I'm now just watching. I'm just a spectator in this. I'm thinking this looks interesting, right? Because he had also warned me as well that we need to be careful not to, play with something we don't understand. He told me about how if you cast out demons, they'll come back stronger and things like that. I didn't really fully understand it then, but at the same time, I was also like, hey, I don't care, sort of thing. Like, let's do it because, God is on our side and God will protect us, sort of thing. I was speaking with a bit of arrogance there. So I just watched him. But then I noticed that something was actually happening to this guy because he had his phone initially, and we knew that girls were texting him about the party later on for him to come, but we told him to put the phone down to not go because I was convinced not to go anymore, but he still wanted to go. So we told him to put the phone down, not touch his phone. So his phone was next to him, and he said, "Yeah, fine, he'll put it down." But then I started to notice, like, as my other friend was casting demons out of him, he was like yawning a lot. And my friend has already told me that, one of the ways demons come out is through yawns and burps and stuff like that. So I noticed this guy is yawning a lot. Maybe they're coming out. Though I can't see anything like because they're spiritual beings. I can't see anything. But it's like I see him yawning a lot and I see him like, twitching as well a lot. And I'm like, maybe this stuff is real. So I joined in as well and I started casting out the demons as well. In the name of Jesus, come out of him, come out of him. And I see more is like more coming out. But then it gets to the point where he's now like, nah, bro, this one is not coming out. This one is not trying to leave. And I'm now confused. I'm like, what? That don't make sense. They should go out because we're saying it in Jesus' name. You know what I'm saying? Like they have to be, bow down to the name of Jesus. But why are these not leaving? It doesn't make sense. Obviously, I wasn't familiar with, where Jesus said, these only come out by prayer and fasting and that. But so it's like, but for me, it's like, this stuff is real, you know. And this friend is about my height, but a bit stronger and bigger than me. So he could have physically hurt me or held me down. So there was a time where I took his phone because he wanted to touch his phone, or he did go on his phone, but then I took it from him, and I told him to take it from me if. So I taunted him basically, like if you're bad, take it from me. But he didn't. Instead, he was actually, and I would go nearer to him as well to like kind of look intimidating. And instead, he was actually backing away to the point I cornered him and he just fell to the ground. And I was just confused. Like, huh? Like, what is going on here? That this guy is strong enough to actually physically hurt me and take his phone back. But it felt like there was like a shield that he couldn't do anything. That's how it felt. So I was just like, my mind is just blown at this point. Like, I'm just confused. Like, what is going on? Maybe there's some truth to this Christianity thing. But obviously, because we messed with the demons, they obviously, and we were unrepentant, they came back stronger, attacked each of us. And so this is what led me to spiraling out of control to hitting rock bottom. Each of us, yeah, got worse in our own right. But for me specifically, as this is my testimony, so the following like few months to a year, my life just gets intense. I'm just struggling with so much anxiety, so much depression, So now I've now finally left that job, old workplace in the new one, tiredness. It's like I'm struggling with laziness as well because I've known myself, I'm not really a lazy person. I'm someone who, I mean, to do sports, I had to work hard and whatnot, but I lost the will to like, even to wake up to go to work and stuff like that. Lost the will to live. And it was just so much going on spiritually. I continued sleeping around, of course, as well. Then I had a pregnancy scare as well that year, end of that year, where a pregnancy scare for maybe some who are not familiar with those terminologies that we use is when, you know, a girl that one is slept with, thinks she's pregnant, but she turns out not being pregnant. So then the following year now, when I eventually leave this job, because I thought, okay, now my dad has introduced me to another um industry called Scrum. I thought, okay, maybe I can get into this. I can, do it because he believed I can do it. I don't have to have previous experience because I didn't go to university. So
So
most
what is
jobs
it
that
called? Sorry,
Scrum is to do with like project management.
I got you.
Yeah, to put it simply, but it's used in IT. And yeah, so I've got my qualifications for it and I thought, okay, I'll try and do that. So I left my other job now, thinking I'll get a new job within maybe a week or so. So I'd also planned to save. So I saved up a bit of money, but because I had a car and my car broke down around January 2023, so I had to use some of that money that I saved up to repair the car and whatnot. And then so I lost a bit more money than I saved. But then so now I'm out of work for 2 weeks, you know, and being out of work, though I was not getting paid, I was still very busy because I was still doing my social media. I was still trying to do my business with my friend. I was still playing football and whatnot. So I was still very busy in that 2 weeks. Then I got a text from my dad, saying that, you know, he he was just asking me like, what's going on? You've been at home for 2 weeks now. What are your plans, sort of thing. Because of where I felt like he was telling me that I'm a failure, right? And just to give a bit of context, the relationship with my dad did get so bad that police got involved at one point because I used to get beaten a lot by him. And when I was 14, there was a period where I actually got beaten so much I had belt marks on my back because I was caught, watching porn twice, and he grounded me, so I had to follow him to church and wherever he went. And if I was to go out, I had to tell him where I was going and what time I'll be back and stuff like that. If I'm even late by 1 minute, it can end badly for me. So one day I went to football. I got back. I got late, I think, because the buses were delayed or something. I wasn't actually lying to him. I was telling him the truth, but just the fact that I got home late and whatnot, I got beaten excessively. I was told to face the wall. And at that point, I was like, nah, I've had enough. I'm going to call the police and claim child abuse. So eventually, so usually his plan was he'll beat me a lot, then he would ask me to, further punishment to face the wall, maybe with my hands up or something. So another like physical punishment. So I did that for a few hours. Then eventually bedtime, he told me to go to bed. But then, oh no, he said I can go to the toilet first because I needed to go to the toilet whilst facing the wall. So in that time period is when I called the police. And I told them it's child abuse and whatnot. They said they'll send someone over within the next hour or two. Then I was like, cool, fine. So by the time I went to sleep, they hadn't arrived. So I thought maybe they're not coming anymore. But then when I was in bed, I now hear banging on the door. My dad opens the door. He's now having an argument with the police, whatnot. Long story short, They asked him to leave the house, whilst they investigate. They sent social workers in. They saw the evidence on my body and stuff like that. So they also wanted to check my brothers to see if they've also gone through the same thing. Um, and yeah, and though, yeah, but my brothers didn't have the same sort of experience because again, we have different temperaments too, and I felt like my dad treated them differently to how he treated me as well. But it's like they were still willing to take my dad to court because obviously that's what they want. They want to just destroy the family. And though at the same time, they also eh, they see it as they're doing good, protecting the children, but their aim is also to destroy the family and whatnot. So I had family friends, people from church who are, elders as well, who came and just told me like, no, don't do that, don't take him to court, because you don't want that's not going to end well, things like that. So they eventually convinced me not to. So I ended up not taking my dad to court as a result that I could have. But then that built a lot of resentment also from my dad towards me now, because it's like now he has a criminal record. I've ruined some of his plans and stuff like that. And so, yeah. But then that's when I also felt like I can even be even more rebellious because now I know my dad can't physically hurt me anymore. I'm also growing, I'm getting stronger too, so I took advantage of that as well. So him and I for the next 7 years from 14 to about 21 we had a rough relationship. It wasn't until when I was learning to drive because I didn't want to get a driving instructor. So I bought my car first, and it was good. And because I didn't want to spend money on driving instructor, so I thought, okay. And people, and in this point, that's when I also met those Christians who planted a seed in me, who were teaching me about forgiveness initially at the time, even after I started choosing to rebel. So around like 2018, 2019 teaching me to forgive him and whatnot, and to try and make amends, to try and apologize to my dad and whatnot. So I was thinking about that again. So I tried to, you know, go to him and like ask him to teach me how to drive. So he did. He did eventually teach me how to drive and whatnot. So that's when him and I's relationship started to get better again. Though the damage was still done. And we would kind of like bond on things. Now I weren't really so good. Because there was even a time where he wanted to even go to the point of even divorcing my mum, and I was encouraging it at the time. But obviously now I wouldn't. But I was encouraging. My brothers didn't encourage it. So that's why he listened to them and he didn't go through with it. But yeah, so we'd bond on things like that, and that weren't so good. Some things were, like work and stuff. He was trying to help me with and that. But anyways, long story short, so coming back to this point, when I received this text from him, I thought, oh, he's saying I'm a failure because I'm just not in a good place already.
And
And
this
I'm
is
already
in 2023.
23, yeah. Yeah. So I'm thinking I'm a failure and whatnot, because I'm nearing the age of 25. I'm 24 at the time, going to 25. I'm thinking 25, what have I accomplished with my life? You know what I'm saying? The football I wanted to do didn't really work out. I've got nowhere with it. Social media, though I've gotten a bit of traction and recognition, I've been on other people's channels that have got millions of views, but on my own channels, like YouTube channels, not doing well. Although I've picked up a few thousand followers here and there, it's not doing as well as I would like it to do. My business as well with my friend isn't really working out the way, that we would like it to have worked out. So I was just feeling like low, like what's the point of me living sort of thing. And then I had, you could say, the worst week of my life around May 2023. So there was a girl who I was close with at the time, who I was speaking with, who wasn't my girlfriend at the time, but we're very close that, because I didn't like having girlfriends. Weirdly enough, though I was sleeping around, I also still wanted to be married, but I had high standards. And the girls I was sleeping with weren't the ones I would want to marry, sort of things. I didn't see myself marrying her, but I didn't also want to make her my girlfriend because if I made her my girlfriend, I'll see it as I'm gonna marry her, sort of thing. So it was weird. So I like the benefits of a relationship without the commitment,
Mm.
basically. I enjoyed that, and so I took advantage of that. But there was a time where she had her phone robbed from her, and long story short, I eventually, went to pick her up, bring her to my house. But at the same time, I was still seeing another girl that she knew about and she didn't like. They found out about each other. So we had a disagreement about that. But that week, I was in bed for the whole week because I had like a serious ear pain, where it's like I had a serious headache and I couldn't move much. So I was staying in bed most of the week. She would encourage me to go to hospital, but I was like, nah, I don't want to go to hospital because I know since COVID, even before going to hospital is long waiting times and they don't even treat it properly. Da, da, da. But this pain continued that on a Friday she eventually convinced me to go to hospital. But before I went to the hospital, on a Friday. On a Wednesday, I received a text from this brother in Christ, the one who's a few years older than me, who I met through one of my friends who did football as well. He just because in the year before, he's tried to meet up with me. We'll go to the coffee shop and he'll talk, talk about Christ. And he'll share some things with me that I like. I'm like, this is true. I've never heard this before in the church. I've gone to church all these years. I've never heard this. But as soon as we're done, I'll go back to my life and I'll continue. So he knew I still wasn't ready. But this time it's like he just messaged me because we hadn't spoken in some months. And I was just thinking, I said to him, like, I feel like God has sent you to me. I was like, I feel like God has sent you right now. Though I didn't really know or understand. And he responded to me and he explained that his wife had a dream about me. But I didn't hear this part until after the following event happened. His wife had a dream about me, and in the dream, I was having dinner with them, and yeah, went to a restaurant where it was just the three of us and whatnot. But I got up and left. I was like in a rush. I was like, I gotta go, bro. I gotta go. So that prompted him to like message me. Little did he know that is on that Friday of that week, I would actually attempt suicide. You know, yeah, he had no idea that's what was gonna happen. So I think that's why God sent his wife that dream. Because that's what I was gonna do. You know, um, because I'd reached breaking point. I was like, hey, there's no point living anymore. Everything I've tried to live for is all come to nothing. I don't see myself living. And also the girl that I was with that day that told me to go to the hospital because her and the other girl that I was sleeping and messing around with, had an argument. They both kind of like turned on me. And so she were together in the car. She took my earphones out of my ears. Long story short, I tried to get it back. She wasn't giving it back. And I tried to slap on her hand, like, so she would release it. She didn't give it back. But I was thinking, nah, this girl's gonna go and call the police on me and say that I physically abused her. And I was just thinking, I'd rather be dead than in jail. So for me, suicide was more of a intellectual thing rather than an emotional thing. Those is actually both that, drove me to that point. So I was just thinking, it only makes sense. I'd rather be dead than in jail. So I'll just end it all. And I'd already been suicidal many times before, but I never actually went through with it because I always had that fear of going to hell. I had the doctrine of, oh, anyone who commits to suicide automatically goes to hell, sort of thing. That's what I believe. So that's what stopped me the other times. But this time I was like, nothing's gonna stop me this time. I've actually accepted it. I'm actually gonna go through with it. So after I dropped her home that day, I went home to pick up some pills to drive far away outside of London in case police are looking for me. So yeah, so I actually went through with it because I considered other ways. Every other way I considered the different strategies of committing suicide. And for me, it's like I wanted it to be the least painful, especially if I was to survive also. You know what I'm saying? Because I also know that some people do survive. So I was like, just in case I do survive, I want it to be the least painful. So taking some pills was the one that made sense to me. So I was strategic with everything, but I made up my mind. So I went up, I drove far away outside of London in my car now, took the pills, and so I've taken it now. I've taken as many pills. I had like about probably 8 pills, some, paracetamol tablets and some strong hay fever tablets, and I took all of them together, hoping that it would be enough to take me away. But after I've taken it now and I'm waiting for it to kick in, I actually just prayed this prayer, and because even though I've accepted the possibility of going to hell, deep down I didn't really want to go there because I knew it'll be eternal. You know what I'm saying? And if hell is even 0.0000001% chance that it's real, I don't actually want to go there. But I've already taken the pills that's going to send me there as far as my belief. So I prayed, I was like, God, okay, if you're real and if you do love me, let me not succeed. Like, let me not die, basically. Save me from this. By God's grace, of course, I'm here today to tell you the testimony. So he did save me. But at the time, it wasn't enough. At the time, I thought, oh, maybe it's just a fluke. Maybe the pills weren't strong enough. So there was a few more series of events as well that were coming together. So I also thought, wait, hold on. Because so there was a few more. I ran away from home because of the shame, because my parents and family eventually found out about it, about the attempts, and so I didn't want to go back home. So I tried to run away to someone else's house, to a girl that I've been sleeping around with before, and I used, her, responding to my messages as a test, to see if maybe God is real. So I was like, okay, because I said to myself, okay, maybe it's just a fluke. I'll try again. But if she responds to me and allows me to come and stay at hers, then maybe there's a chance. Maybe God does love me and He doesn't want me to go through with it again. So she initially opened my message, didn't respond. I thought, oh man, so I have to go through with it again. But I wasn't ready to. So I waited some time, and then she eventually responded and let me stay. So that added to it. Like, okay, maybe God might be real. Then I now listen to my friends to the guy who later on discipled me, his voice note about his wife's dream, and I was like, huh, hold on. So that's probably what the dream meant. That I was, and he had no idea what was going on. So I'm now thinking, huh, maybe God sent him, you know. So now I'm a bit more open to it, you know. And then he now told me to start meeting up with him. So the end of that month, end of April 2023, I started meeting up with him. And he started to disciple me, right? But then there's still more to it. But I see the time was about to go. So
Pause
then,
there. Pause
yeah.
there. Pause there. Wow. Wow, man. Pause there, brother. We could have stopped the recording, okay?
Yeah, yeah,
We're
that's all
gonna
right.
get into the next part.